Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Across Africa, a weekly look at stories from across the continent. And this week, one of the biggest events in the global wine scene wraps up here in Paris as the French industry continues to struggle. Africa, however, with its growing young middle class, is the perfect terroir for producers hoping to cultivate the continent's markets and palates. And these bridges also nurture passionate communities around the world that can uncork a new era for wine. So I'm Georja Calvin-Smith, and this week we'll be looking at how France is known for its wine, but times and tastes change. Domestic consumption is dropping, as are traditional export markets. But there is a growing push for the opportunities on offer in Africa. But that does mean understanding of the terrain, the lifestyles, the palates, and the pockets. And that takes a special kind of knowledge. And as Wine Paris, a huge trade show, wraps up here in the French capital, I managed to grab Franco-Nigerian wine consultant Chinedu Rita Rosa to come in to talk to us about what it takes to uncork the best of Africa when it comes to wine. Chinedu, thank you so much for making the time to come and speak to us, because I know you even delayed your train to come and give us a little drop of your understanding of how this all fits together. Yeah. Now, first of all, I mentioned there that you were amongst the many wine professionals in Paris for Wine Paris.
Yes.
For those of us with a less refined nose for what these big dates in the global wine calendar mean, tell us a bit about why meetings like Wine Paris are so important.
Oh, wow. I started my love in wine through Wine Paris, though it was then in Bordeaux. Wine Paris is a professional exhibition for world wine producers everywhere. We're talking about industry experts, people in technology, everything that has to do with wine it's a huge pot where we all come together, express and do business. And we're talking about from Africa, Asia, anything that has to do with wine. This is the place to be.
And is there much of an African presence there?
Oh, yes. And I'm very happy to say I even have wineries from South Africa represented this year. It's such a huge space, and it's so important because right now Africans are taking a step up in the wine industry, and there were so many importers from Uganda, from Kenya, I personally am Nigerian. We have over 20 Nigerians present this year. We have people from Ghana, all across the globe.
And importing French wine into their country.
Exactly. Importing not only French wine, we're talking about importers of everything, because the African market is really, we call it now the last frontier, because it's where people are still young, people are still happy to sit down together and share a bottle of wine with their friends. It's all about social culture, and this is something that Africa is so good at. So the importers are actually very, very key to the growth and to the stability of the wine industry, because the more they spend time with the wine producers, they understand the business more, and there's a better relationship. Because in the wine business, if there's anything that is really, really key to keeping the business going, is a communication and really having that one-on-one opportunity to talk to the person who makes the wine. And that's what Wine Paris does.
When it comes to exporters, I think South African wines already have a pretty strong global reputation. Are there any other countries or areas that are doing some surprising things that you think that more people should know about?
I am excited about a friend of mine who is actually from Togo, and she has a vineyard in Togo. And she has released the first wine from her vineyard. And there's another friend in Cote d'Ivoire. There is a lot happening in Uganda, in Tanzania. There's a lot of wine culture and wine producers popping up from everywhere. And these are people who have lived in other parts of the world, and they have learned about wine, and they bring back the technical know-how back to Africa. Because I know in the past they used to say, you have to be over this equator to be able to have wines or grape vines in your country, but that has been proven to be wrong. In Morocco, there's lots of good wines. In Tunisia, Tanzania, Algeria. So why not in West Africa? Why not in East Africa? Kenya is doing the same thing.
It sounds like you're saying wine not, which I like. Why not indeed? But in terms of making space for these new both exporters and producers and importers,
Yes.
and even the consumers themselves, one of the things that you've said in the past as somebody who does this bridge between old world wine markets and the new world is that certain parts of the conversation have to change. What do you mean by that?
Well, like I said before, there's a lot of myths about where wines can be produced, where wines are drunk. Everything has been turned upside down by reality. The fact is that the Africans cannot be ignored. There are a lot of the Indians cannot be ignored. South America cannot be ignored. There is a lot of places where, in the Western world, it is regarded as finesse. This is where wine comes from. This is what wine is about. No, but there's a big conversation that we do not have to just keep ourselves in a box.
And you've done a lot to actually try and open up that box or multiply the boxes. You there's something called every week. So don't just focus on Africa, as you just alluded to there, South America, the Middle East, India. Every year, you and some of the colleagues you work with here in France hold something called
Bordeaux Mentor Week.
Right.
Well, I created
how does that? Sorry, but how does that feed into what you think should and can be happening for the future of the global wine industry?
Well, Bordeaux Mentor Week was created because my friend and I, Jane Anson, we sat down and we're like, the world is too closed. There is this box that seems insurmountable. You can get out of it. So why not make it more open? Let people come into Bordeaux, a place like Bordeaux, which is regarded as it's the home of wine in Europe. Why don't we open it up to people of different backgrounds and let them come and see also, not just to show how great Bordeaux is, but for Bordeaux to see how great other people of other nationalities that they might have never even thought of as wine drinkers come and see their knowledge about wine.
But because it's not just people who like wine. From what I understand, you're doing is building a community of wine professionals who sometimes struggle to find other people to share their passion with.
We have wine experts. They are wonderful sommeliers, but they don't even have more than 2 of them in a country.
So remind us, what countries are you talking about?
I'm talking about even China, Bali, Malawi. Malawi is landlocked. One of our mentees came from there. He doesn't even have anybody to sit down and have a chat with about wine. So in this kind of instances, we have from South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Rwanda, far-fetched as Peru, Ecuador, and all this is just for the wine world to be more open and let people of different social standing be included. The conversation cannot be left to only the elites. We need to include everybody.
One other thing that I thought was super interesting about the way that you approach the work that you do is that in terms of inclusiveness, it's also in terms of creating parallels between different creative sectors, because you have had a hand in not producing, but making possible the creation of a film by an African producer, which looks at a Nigerian orchestra's journey to try and interpret the tastes of individual wines into sound. Tell us about that.
We are so proud of one of our mentees. Her name is Fulakemi Ali Balogun, and she had this dream. From the first day she came into the Bordeaux Mentor Week, she was one of our students, and she said, I want to do this. I have a dream about creating a beautiful symphony of wine and music. And it was such a wonderful idea. And Jane and I, of course, we got on board, but she did this herself. We were just there to tell her, listen, you can do this. We will back you up as much as we can. And she did this in Lagos, and I was there at the dinner, and it was such a wonderful experience to see how young people interpret wine, even ways that we who are professionals do not even think about. And this is one of the reasons why mentorship is so important in everything we do. We cannot let the young ones, we can't leave them behind. They have so many ideas, and as mentors, our job is to make sure we help them reach that goal or help them fulfill their dreams.
Chinedu, I'm going to have to lose you very soon, but just before I do, just one final thought about what you wish more people understood about what wine can bring to them sensorially, community-wise, because I think a lot of people see it as kind of quite an elite thing, at least beyond just drinking it, properly appreciating everything that it kind of inspires and that comes with it. What kind of message would you like to drop on people to encourage them to take a bit more of a sip in terms of all of the kind of intellectual, social stuff that can come with appreciation of wine?
You just used the right word, intellectual, social stuff. The fact is that wine makes you more inspired. When you're talking to people and everybody's on their phone these days. We need people to look at each other in the face. And when you drink a glass of wine, you are focused on the person. You're focused on their smile. You're focused on what is coming from their heart. So,
Chinedu, thank you so much for giving us just a drop of the work that you do and the passion with which you do it. Chinedu Rita Rosa, Chinedu Rita Rosa there, you've intoxicated my soul. And speaking to us about the role of Africa and the world in terms of raising the understanding and profile of wines around the globe. That, though, is all we have time for Across Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.